Well, it's a great time to sell your house, but not so good if you're looking to buy. Why cash is king and how much you need just to compete these days.
Governor Ron DeSantis says Florida's vaccine program will go from seniors first to all aboard, but there's one thing that he won't do to stop the spread. And a new change in the oldest city, what we've learned about the first woman set to serve as St. Augustine's chief of police.
You're watching First Coast News on your side.
Thank you so much for being here tonight at First Coast News at 5:30. We're always glad when you join us. I'm Jeannie Blaylock.
And I'm Heather Crawford. We're going to have more on those stories in just a moment. But first, let's send it over to Anthony Austin with a look at your half-hour headlines.
Here's what we're following, Jeannie and Heather, at this hour. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp says every single person in the state of Georgia over the age of 16 will be eligible for a coronavirus vaccine starting Thursday. Governor Kemp had previously said he wanted to make that move next month. He did not say why he moved up the date to expand eligibility, but Kemp is expected to get his shot in Waycross this Friday, part of a push to get you to get yours.
I mean, I've been wanting to get the vaccine for over a week now, and I've been waiting because I wanted to get to South Georgia where we're seeing that hesitancy to try to help with that problem with the demographic that we're dealing with down there.
An overhauled version of a bill making changes to Florida's Bright Future Scholarship Program passed another committee today. Republican Senator Dennis Baxley killed a provision to limit scholarship funds for students who study in fields less likely to directly lead to a job. But the bill also removes language requiring the state fund students at 75% or 100% tuition. That leaves open the possibility that the scholarships could cover a smaller share of tuition in the future. Jacksonville's City Council is meeting right now. On today's agenda is a bill that would block the council members from raising their own salary in the annual budget. The council voted last year to give themselves a $2,300 raise, which Councilman Rory Diamond says would bring salaries for most of them to more than $52,000 a year. According to the Census Bureau, the median income in Duval is about $30,000 a year.
Well, Anthony, right now parents of students at Lee High School are preparing to meet once again to talk about maybe changing that school's name. Demonstrators are gathered to demand those changes. Many opinions on this. Haley Harrison is live right now in Riverside.
Well, Jeannie, rallies have been held by community organizations like the Northside Coalition and Take 'em Down Jacks before every public meeting here at Lee High School. But today, several parents, teachers, and even several students have gathered here before the meeting. Now, 15,000 people have also signed an online petition calling for Lee High School to be renamed. The meetings at Lee have been the most controversial since the renaming process began in Duval County, with dozens of students, teachers, and alumni speaking from both sides. This video that compiles comments from public meetings here at Lee High School, posted by a student organization called EVAC Movement, has gone viral on Twitter. Now, we spoke to a Black Lee High School student who shares how these comments from those who don't want the name to be changed make him feel. Hear from him coming up on First Coast News at 11. Now, there are two more public meetings at Lee High School before names are identified for the ballot and the renaming process begins. Live in Jacksonville, I'm Haley Harrison, First Coast News, on your side.
Governor Ron DeSantis has been crisscrossing the state today in Pensacola. He promised that all adults will be eligible for COVID vaccine before May the 1st. But the governor says actually getting a shot, well, that is up to you.
They set a date. I think the administration set a date by May 1st. They wanted it basically to be open to all adults. And I can tell you in Florida, that's going to happen way before May 1st. There's not going to be a mandate here. And there's also not going to be any vaccine passport requirements. It's really unfair to impose that on people as a cost of being able to participate in society. So we're not going to let that happen in Florida. Again, available to all, required for none.
Tomorrow, the federal vaccination site at the Gateway Town Center will only offer about 500 first doses per day. The rest of the site's 3,000 daily capacity will be focused on getting people their second doses. And the two satellite sites in Duval County, they will only offer second doses. So if you still need your first dose, you can go to Gateway, but you may want to get there early. And for everything you need to know about the COVID vaccine rollout, just text the word vaccine to us at 904-633-2402. We'll send you a link of our county by county breakdown so you can have all the information right on your cell phone.
With twin 2-year-old boys, it's impossible impossible to live on $275 a week.
Do the math. It's not working.
We've been living on $125 a week.
$187 a week. No one can survive on this.
For more than a year now, we've been working to help you navigate that unemployment maze in Florida. And we're still hearing your stories, fighting with the state to get even a little money coming in, even if it's still not enough, as you just heard those people say. Now one comedian is digging more deeply into this issue. And we've been tracking this for more than 12 months now, as we say. But as we want to point out tonight, he's a comedian, but it's no laughing matter. Jocelyn Howard reports.
Our main story tonight concerns unemployment.
HBO's John Oliver taking a deep dive into the nation's unemployment crisis.
It's been almost exactly a year since the pandemic hit and tens of millions of people lost their jobs, many of whom filed for unemployment insurance.
Keyword there, insurance. Oliver breaks down why the system was created in the 1930s.
Gather funds, particularly in the good times, so that there'd be money available to disperse in bad times.
It used to be the pride of a prepared nation.
The nationwide crusade against unemployment, fear, and insecurity.
Nowadays, unemployment is sometimes disparaged.
Look no further than Florida.
Oliver calls out former governor, current U.S. Senator Rick Scott, boasting about reducing the state's unemployment rolls.
How many people, when I left office, were on unemployment benefits? 61,000.
Due to those changes, only 11% of applicants were actually eligible for benefits before the federal government stepped in.
Florida's deep and deliberate neglect of its unemployment system caused people there real pain.
This is something Oliver said hurt the state in the long run.
Every dollar spent on unemployment benefits boosted economy-wide spending by as much as $2.
Which is why Oliver says unemployment insurance should once again be regarded as insurance and not a handout.
That we need to take all of the energy that we have been pouring in to making sure that people who don't deserve payments don't get them, and put at least as much energy into making sure that people who really need them do.
Jocelyn Howard, First Coast News, on your side.
Thank you, Jocelyn. And remember, we are always on your side. You can find help with our Navigating Florida's Unemployment Maze Facebook group. Join the group and join the discussion. And we help you handle the ins and the outs of dealing with the dysfunction. And for any other pandemic-related problems, we're here to help you. You can drop us a line at onyourside@firstcoastnews.com. Well, have you put your house on the market? Experts are seeing favorable conditions for sellers.
Coming up, a look at how some of the highest home prices and why sellers may be getting more for their properties right now.
And a stormy scenario is setting up. Cold air coming out of the Rockies will be heating up here. We'll take a look at where the storm front will be and how long it's going to take to make it here in just a few moments.
Well, home prices have jumped 17% year over year. That is the biggest increase in more than 5 years. That's according to real estate firm Redfin. The median home sale price is more than $330,000. Redfin says the housing market is just red hot right now, and some buyers are purchasing at what they call irrationally high prices. All signs point to a seller's market here across our First Coast. We talked with a realtor and a potential home buyer in the area. They both say the buyers are struggling and that sellers basically just get to name their price. And out-of-staters are offering some big cash. One recent listing, the house had nearly 50 offers, and that was the same day it hit the market.
You know that there's no way 44 people could have seen that house in 2 hours. So it's people just sight unseen that are just buying houses without even really looking at them.
Experts think the market will eventually correct itself, but they don't expect a repeat of the market collapse that we saw back in 2008.
Today, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy unveiled his 10-year plan to remake the U.S. Postal Service. He said that plan will reverse a projected $160 billion loss over the next decade. DeJoy says that his plan will keep 6-day mail delivery and it will expand package deliveries into Sunday. He says no decision has been made yet on raising the cost of postage through the end of this year, but you will probably be waiting longer for first-class mail, up to 2 extra days. And some post offices could see the hours cut or they could be closed altogether. Now, some critics have said that DeJoy, appointed by former President Donald Trump, is working to sabotage the Postal Service. And President Biden has faced calls to remove him as Postmaster General. He can't fire him. However, he can appoint people to the USPS Board of Governors, which does have the ability to remove the postmaster. There are currently 6 members on that board and 3 vacancies. Well, many unanswered questions after a gunman opened fire at a supermarket, killing 10 people, including a police officer.
After the break, we're learning more about the gun that the shooter used in Colorado and how the NRA wanted to block a ban for using that type of firearm.
Not only did we lose 10 lives, but this is real horror and terror for all of us. The simple act of shopping at a grocery store.
One day after a gunman opened fire outside and inside a grocery store in Colorado, we have now learned the names of the 10 victims killed in that attack. The youngest, just 20 years old. One of them, a Boulder police officer. Police say that Officer Eric Talley was a 51-year-old father of 7. He was the first to respond to the King Soopers grocery store yesterday.
Police say Talley was killed in a gunfight with the suspect, and that suspect, who was seen being arrested with blood running down his leg yesterday, has been named as a 21-year-old from the Denver suburbs. His name, Ahmad Ali Alawi Alisa. He's now facing 10 murder charges.
Now, on the roof of the White House, the American flag was lowered to half-staff in honor of those Colorado victims. A previous order lowering the flags for the victims of the Atlanta killings last week just expired. And inside the White House, the president called on Congress today to revive a ban on assault weapons like the one that was in place between 1994 and 2004.
We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. I got that done when I was a senator. It passed. It was law for the longest time. And it brought down these mass killings. We should do it again.
In court documents that the suspect bought an AR-15 rifle less than a week ago. Now, those documents did not say where he bought the rifle, and it's not clear yet if the gun was used in the shooting. But earlier this month, the NRA boasted that it supported a lawsuit to block Boulder from banning AR-15 rifles and 10-round magazines. A judge's ruling striking down those bans came March the 12th.
In Washington, gun control has been a major point of contention for decades. Democrats generally support restrictions and Republicans are in lockstep against them. This morning, a Senate Judiciary Committee met for a previously scheduled hearing on ways to reduce gun violence.
Thoughts and prayers are not enough. And yet, thoughts and prayers is all we have heard from my colleagues on the other side. Thoughts and prayers must lead to action.
And every time there's a shooting, we play this ridiculous theater where this committee gets together and proposes a bunch of laws that would do nothing to stop these murders.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said today he will bring a bill calling for universal background checks up for a vote. And you can see the very latest from Washington ahead tonight at 6:30 on NBC Nightly News and ABC World News tonight.
Getting the vaccine won't be a 100% guarantee against getting the coronavirus. And while you can get a blood test for COVID antibodies, what if that test comes back negative? Verify's Vanessa Rufus is taking a closer look for us.
The vaccine rollout, we heard from some of you who got those first shots and saw tangible results on antibody tests.
It's the most incredible feeling in the world. You know, I've been scared for the last 9 months that I was going to get sick, that I was going to get my family sick.
But if you're considered fully vaccinated and get a negative result, should you be concerned? Our question is, if you get a negative antibody test after your COVID-19 vaccine, does it mean the shot didn't work? We took that question to infectious disease specialist Dr. David Priest and South Carolina State epidemiologist Dr. Linda Bell.
You can, in fact, be immune and have a negative antibody test.
Our doctors say there could be a few reasons why.
If you get a commercially performed antibody test it can be looking for a different antibody than the one that the vaccine has worked to stimulate in your body.
Remember, the immune response is more than just antibodies. It's T cell response and other parts of your immune system.
But it doesn't mean a more sophisticated test won't be useful in our future.
There are newer laboratory tests coming that may allow us to measure T cell response, something beyond antibody response. And we may find that down the road, we will check antibodies and decide you need another series of vaccine. We do that with some other infectious diseases. So, for instance, hepatitis B.
So we can verify, no, a negative antibody test does not necessarily mean your COVID-19 shot did not work for you. Doctors say those commercial tests might not detect all aspects of your body's immune response. With your Verify, I'm Vanessa Rufus.
Now, your most accurate forecast from the First Coast News weather team, sponsored by AC Designs.
Nice to have some verification. Speaking of, it's a big storm system here. You might be being your own forecaster, taking a look at the radar. Now, this is the radar over the last 24 hours. And you might say, well, you know that this type of color indicates heavy rains. In fact, there are flash flood watches and warnings as near as the Florida Panhandle. And over the last 24 hours, clearly from Texas through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and now into the Panhandle. So some of that surely must be heading our way tomorrow. And yet, our forecast for tomorrow is tranquil. So what gives? Well, we'll go in a little bit closer. And again, admittedly, still looks pretty threatening. In fact, if I was looking at this 40 years ago, I'd be forecasting probably at least some rain for our area. But the computer models continue to improve, continue to get better, not perfect, but they're certainly getting better. We have more data that goes into them. We, the taxpayers, are spending more money on the government-supplied computer models. And there's a lot of support that shows that this is going to fall apart probably before it even makes it to Tallahassee. We'll talk more about tomorrow in a moment, but let's just talk about the next couple of hours. If you're with us last night, of course, we had the gusty northeast winds, especially near the coast. Those winds are diminishing, but we did see a few showers offshore, well away from the swirl that's off the Carolina coastline. And here we go again this evening. We have some showers offshore. However, because the winds at about 5,000 to 10,000 feet, instead of blowing from the ocean, are blowing from the west, I don't think any of these showers are going to make it ashore. Bottom line, last night, whereas most of us were dry, a few showers did come ashore, St. Johns County south. I don't think that's going to happen tonight. Okay, so that's tonight. What about, well, in fact, you know what? Let's go to the computer model. I think this does a pretty good job. So this is just looking at the next 6 hours. And look at all of this dramatic rainfall. And all indications are it's going to fall apart. Here's another look at the next 24 hours. We're going to continue to get what we call debris, kind of hazy out there now. That's actually cirrus clouds, ice crystals at 25,000 feet. That's blowing off of these thunderstorms, and that continues to head our way. But the reason, the triggering mechanism for the showers and thunderstorms is still way out toward Texas. So tomorrow, tranquility, or at least calmer than it's been. From the sand to the Swanee and everywhere in between. There it is, tranquil and 80 degrees. 85 on Thursday, breezy, and that's simply because of the sea breeze. There it is. This front, the triggering mechanism, doesn't actually make it here until later Sunday. Between now and then, we're heating up. I'd call 90 hot, wouldn't you?
Стой, не дергайся, не дергайся.
On camera in Ukraine, this boy who ignored warnings not to go out on the ice winds up stranded in the middle of a river near Kiev. A nearby fisherman came to the rescue. He pulls the hook off his line, replaces it with weights, casting the line out to this boy, and he reels him in. The kid didn't even get his feet wet. Pretty amazing rescue there. Well, back here on the First Coast, this summer, St. Augustine's chief of police will retire. Barry Fox has spent the last 4 years in charge, and for nearly 3 decades, he's been on the city's police force. His last day will be June the 30th. And today, the city manager announced that the commander, Jennifer Mayshow, will step in as chief once Fox retires. She will be the first woman to lead the police department in the nation's oldest city. She's been on the force since 1995. Her resume also includes service with the U.S. Navy and a bachelor's degree from Flagler College. For almost a year now, student borrowers have not had to pay their loans back. And ahead at 6, a look at who will benefit from a new move to wipe away $1 billion worth of debt. We'll be right back.